Say hi.
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 You ready to do some work?
Yeah.
All right, what are we doing today?
It's doing today.
Come on, what are we doing today?
It's doing today.
That's it?
That's it.
All right, maybe you want to go hang out with Mommy while I do work.
I'm doing.
All right. Love you.
Love you.
All right. Thank you, Mommy.
Thank you, Mommy.
Yeah. I used the kid to get your attention. That's what I do. Actually, today's a special day because we are celebrating 1 year since Hudson came home with us. And we call this Gotcha Day. So if you're the type of person that's going to celebrate an adoption and let your child know, then you celebrate Gotcha Day. And today's Hudson's Gotcha Day. And we've been celebrating all damn weekend. We're going to PR, Puerto Rico, this week so he can meet some more family. Anyways, I thought I'd put him on here. But look, here's what we're doing today. I put out a post earlier. I put it out to my email list. I put it out to the Facebooks. And I asked, what questions do you have about direct response marketing, about what else, anything, podcasting? I think maybe even I put the general question of marketing here. I should have got a question about direct response marketing, productivity, or podcasting. That's the way I framed it. Okay. And I got some good questions, which I'm going to answer right now. And this is one of the few times where I will look at the comments. So if you guys are just tuning in and you haven't already asked your question, I might still have time to get to it. So drop it there. And if not, I can always answer it later. But I wanted to just start this thing out with the questions I got from my email list, which I got 3 from my email list. And the first one comes from Doberman Dan. Can you believe it? Doberman Dan asking me question, huh? So Doberman Dan asks, how can I get more poontang with direct marketing? Now, he thought I wouldn't put that on the air, and I am putting that on the air. So, little backstory. What is direct response marketing? The way I describe direct response marketing is any kind of marketing that gets the person interacting with it, whether they're reading it, watching a video, listening to it, gets that person to take an action, one single step. And each step progresses and gets them to the sale or to whatever you want. So in Doberman Dan's case, when he's asking about how to get more poontang through direct marketing, I would say the first step for you, sir, is to ask someone on a date. But look, your wife's not going to like that. The Colombiana is not going to like that. So I think you should just stay away from that. Let's get serious now. All right. Next question from Danavir, the Copy Monk. He writes, how can you make a one-person podcast entertaining? Is it even worth it? Without a guest, without an extra host, all by yourself. And so, Danavir, check it out. We do this all the time. And in fact, it's one of the things that separates the Podcast Factory from most other podcast houses out there, because they're about getting interviews and booking guests. And we're going to talk about all that, sure. But what we specialize in is making our host the star. And if you want to know if a one-person podcast is worth it, go look at our homepage and you'll see plenty of podcasts with one person. And so is it worth it? Yes, if you have a back end to sell. And what we do is we work with people who have some sort of back end service that costs at least 3, 5, 10 grand that they have for sale, so they can use the podcast as a way to engage their market, bring them closer, and eventually turn them into customers. So if you've got a good back-end product that you want to sell, you have already made some sales and you know what your market wants, then yeah, absolutely, totally worth it. And actually, we're going to go deeper into this when I get to some of the other questions. So the simple answer there is yes, absolutely. All right, next question. All right, so this one did not have a name. This one's also from the email list. His initials are FD. What's up, FD? One of the things that's tough to get in internet marketing are ideas of benchmarks, especially in growing a business. A home run 6 months ago might be a typical deal now. Can you describe how your benchmarks have evolved? And what's interesting about this question is it's coming up more and more often. I think that it was even asked on Facebook, but we'll keep going with this. So some of the other questions might be quite similar. Anyway, so establishing benchmarks. So in the beginning, it's like, what is a good benchmark? And so what I've done is really simplify things to how many clients have you gotten? And so I'm specializing the Podcast Factory in getting clients for our host. So our benchmark is simple. How much did you spend on working with us or invest? And how much is your return? So how much is your client worth? That's why we want to work with people who have a bigger offer, 3, 5, 10K, is because they can get an ROI quicker. So it starts out with, let me just cover my investment into creating an asset. I want that to sit with you for a second. Creating an asset. I don't think people get that about podcasting, and the idea that each show that you create is another asset, a perpetual asset in your business. And so that's what we do in the beginning. When we take you on the first 8 weeks where we're building your vault of content, it's evergreen content targeted towards the pains of your market, so that asset that you can create will continue to bring in people into your world, turn them into customers, get them interested, get them engaged, and get them buying. So the benchmarks are simple. How much did you invest? What is your ROI? That's how we start out. And of course, things evolve. So the first month, you might be happy to have 1 or 2 clients, and that's going to grow. And as you're able to grow and see how many people are coming in, you're able to scale up whatever your back-end operation is. Like for us, it's audio engineers, copywriters, and all that stuff. But in the beginning, it's let's get an ROI, and then let's see what that grows to over and over again. So I think that might answer the question. If not, ask for some clarification, and I will hook you up. All right, so those are my email questions. I gave my email list preference on this since I asked them first. Now let's go into some of the questions from Facebook. And Mark Mawini, I always butcher names. So if I butchered your last name, Mark, the coach of coaches, you my man. Mark asked, how do you or your clients decide on show topics? Great question. And so I just talked about that in the vault of content. When someone comes on board, we do an audience audit. We find out who their customers are, who the people that are their best clients are. And what we do is we go into client cloning. So we figure out their characteristics, we figure out their pain points, their joy points, their losses. We put all that together, and then we come up with show topics. And the show topics in the vault, the first 12 shows, are evergreen because those are the show topics right from your market, right from their pains, right from their fears. So it feels like when they listen to your show, you are reading their mind because you are. You spent enough time in your market. You know what they need. You know what they fear. You know what hurts them. And you're able to bring that back in your podcast episodes inside your vault of content and use that over and over again to keep answering the same questions you're always answering. That's why the podcast is an asset, because you create it and it keeps working for you into the future. So great question. I see. What's up, Alex? Alex has got a question. I'll get to you in just a second, Alex. So Mark, good stuff. Yassine, my dog, what's up? Another one about metrics. Yassine says, what's the key metrics that you keep your eyes on? Podcast production, operation, and podcast monetization. So he's talking about my metrics on the back end. And so for us running the Podcast Factory, what I look at is client acquisition cost, client lifetime value. And so those are my 2 key metrics. I'm trying to see if I had more notes here. So those are my 2 key metrics. What it costs to bring a client in the door and what that client is worth when they are working with us. And so last year it was about $5,800 or so each client, average client value was worth. Today it's more than that. We're approaching $10,000 per client, and I do everything I can to add more value to my clients so they stick around longer. So our actual average client value is still going up because we're still a new company and we don't know exactly how long people are going to stick around for or if they will stick around forever. But I can tell you that client acquisition cost is number one, and client value, lifetime value, are the two numbers that I keep my eye on and I focus on when I'm working in the business. So let's see what else we have. Alex Perry. I'd love to hear more about your process of content planning for email campaigns. And check this out. So he's asking specifically about email campaigns. And the thing is, I'm from the school of Ben Settle. If you don't know him, bensettle.com, world leader in email copywriting education. Close personal friend of mine, mentor, has helped me immensely. And so the way that Ben looks at it is email should be done daily, 7 days a week, and it should be like talk radio. So you just talk about what's on your mind. The emails do not have to connect. It's just you telling a story from your mind and then adding a call to action to your product. I've done this. Okay. I've done this for 3 years. And it's like the Seinfeld thing where I'm just writing email, whatever gets my attention, I'm just writing emails. I didn't have a plan. I'm changing that now because I've grown to a certain point and it's time to mix things up a bit. So what I have done is I came up with, well, I didn't come up with it. I mean, it was suggested to me and I just organized it, but I came up with a sheet that I put together that is my clients' pains, fears, the losses that they would take if they didn't work with me, and their joys. And I put that all into a grid. And from there, I just look at the pain points, the loss points, all those little things. I see which pieces connect, and I put them together in a piece of content. So today, I go to that grid, I look at it, and then I write according to their pain, their fear, their loss. And I plan content that way. And right now, since I've scaled back a little bit, I'm not writing emails every day. I'm only doing emails 3 days a week. I have more time to do some writing, so I get ahead of this. But what I've done is just put together really a Google Doc. And I've got, all right, this is the pain point I'm hitting this time. This is the pain point I'm hitting this time. And I post 3 times a week, and it's according to that grid that I came up with. And thinking about what my market would hurt them, what they need, and what I could most help them with. So hopefully that answers your question, Alex. Not very formal, but it's kind of the way I work. And PM me if you want a copy of the sheet that I use in the grid, and I'm happy to help you with that. Let's see. So Bradley, what's up, dude? Getting it. He's doing a live today. You're doing a live today, maybe at the same time. I would like to know your process for setting up and requesting interviews and your philosophy of what makes a great interview. So at the Podcast Factory, we're not that big on interviews. I mean, Doberman Dan does quite a few interviews, and he has changed what he was doing. Originally, the show was a marketing show, and right now we're doing inner game. And what I have found is our shows, we like to keep them to about 20 to 30 minutes max. That's about the average time span that any show on the Podcast Factory is, because I know that the shorter form content can be consumed, and I want nothing more than the piece of content that you create to be consumed by your listener so they can hear it, so they can bond with you, and most importantly, so they can take action on your offer. Because if they're not taking action on your offer, you're wasting your time. You may as well not be podcasting. So keeping that in mind, with interviews, what I have found that is working really great with the Doberman Dan show is making them longer. What? Making them longer? What are you talking about? This is what I'm talking about. If you're doing a short interview and you're keeping it under 30 minutes, what I find is you only have room to ask a certain amount of questions, allow a certain amount of time for an answer, and it doesn't allow your guest to open up. And so what we've been doing with the Doberman Dan show, Off the Chain show, is that we've been booking interviews for an hour time slot. Okay? And in that hour time slot, what I've found is that people's guard begins to go lower and lower and lower until you're at their core. They feel unguarded, uninhibited, and they open up. And that's where the gold is. So the way we handle it is we'll do an hour-long interview, but we'll split it up into 2 episodes. 1 week is episode 1. Next week is episode 2. And usually episode 2 is just deeper stuff where people are just letting it hang out. And so you ask me what makes a great interview is when it seems like there's not an interview. Okay? When it seems like 2 people are just talking and us as the listeners are on the outside kind of eavesdropping on that conversation. That's the kind of interviews I love. And so booking them and stuff like that, ask Julia. She's on the thread here. She's about booking interviews. We don't get down on too much of that right now, but I'm sure she could answer your questions. Let's see if we have any other ones because that's the ones I got early. All right. So Alex, what's up, Alex? How do you see the future of podcasting? All right. Good stuff, Alex. So actually, I can't share my screen here, but I found out that I was featured in a movie. It's called The Messengers, and it's a documentary about podcasting. And when I spoke to the guy that put it together, Chris Kremistos, I know I'm butchering that name too. Sorry, Chris. He's a nice guy. Hate to mess up his name. But Chris told me that I was featured in the movie for my thoughts on the future of podcasting. Now, I don't remember what I said yet. The movie comes out August 23rd, so I'll remember when I hear it. But the way I'm seeing things right now is it's getting easier to listen to podcasts. More cars are equipped with either getting MP3 content right from the air, magically downloading, or attaching to your phone. Okay? Back when I started, you actually had to plug in the iPod and download stuff and rearrange files, and you had to be really committed. Today, you don't need that. And so I was doing some research. I don't think it's right here. I wish I would have known this question was coming. Anyways, the most popular format of radio right now, the most listened to, is country radio. That doesn't help us. The second most popular, with millions and millions of listeners every single day, is talk radio. Okay? People are already listening to talk radio. And you know what? Those same people are getting bored of commercials, getting bored of the same old topics, always looking for something new. And that's where podcasting is going to fill a void. You're going to have more selection choices of what you listen to. You get to be the program director. You get to be the one that chooses, I'm listening to marketing now, entertainment here, something funny over there. You get to choose and program. And that is the future. People are going to be programming what they listen to. And us, the people who are in the digital world, creating digital content, creating digital assets, will be able to tap into that market as it becomes easier and easier for them to get it. And so we're still at the forefront of this. And people say podcasting is getting played out. I say, yeah, you're right. Podcasting is getting played out for other people. But for us, the people that start with our market, that know what people need, that create an evergreen vault of content, we're just getting started. So the future of podcasting is those people listening to radio are going to be also taking the option to listen to podcasts, and it's going to give us more opportunity to interact with them. And what I like most about it is these are working people. And how many of my clients are either helping people get out of jobs or helping boost their income? This is stuff they want. So we're actually ahead of that. So think about that when you're going into podcasting. I mean, right now, what I do for my clients, or what we do, Cupcake would be pissed if she heard me say but we try to syndicate every possible platform where there will be ears that could listen to your show and that you can impact. So iHeartRadio, yeah, we're there. Stitcher, Google Play, iTunes, anywhere that there's an audience that could be listening to your show, get it out there. That's what we do for our clients. That's what you should do for yourself. Or if you need help, shoot me a message and we could rap about it. Let's see. Kyle, what's up? Any other questions here as we're wrapping up? No. So I'm trying something new here. You know how JLD does this thing? I'm going to do this thing when I'm signing off. Or is this better? I think this one's better. No, that looks too much. No, It's got to be 3, though. 3. That's how many failed podcasts I had before I finally had a successful one. That's my sign off.